Eric Muathe at Muathe.com. Let's take a look at the chart for YRD and see what we can learn from it. Let's begin with this nice move early on in the year. Absolutely one of the best moving stocks in this period. Let's take a look at why the stock had that run, and we just go back to our RSI and MACDs on the weekly chart. Why the weekly? Because for an IPO we did not have fully developed technical indicators, so we draw a line here which gives us this nice breakout to all-time highs on the weekly RSI. You see that also corresponds with the MACDs moving to all-time highs, and hence it meets the minimum requirement for the ultimate Muathe breakout. Check the description for more on this. So there's your ideal entry, and I have to say this line here, the green line, so happens to be at about 61.8. So since that breakout, and we are talking about this breakout, so during this period here, this breakout corresponds with this price breakout right there, and the stock went on a massive run from about 16 all the way to about 42 in under a month and a half. So that was the good times part of the trading. But now what we see in the beginning part, or at least as we go to the conclusion of October 2016, it looks like now what was the breakout line, the green line, is now turning into resistance on the weekly chart, which might explain why the stock is pulling back. So right now we are looking at potentially what looks like a changing equation where the stock wants to pull back. The level and the magnitude of a pullback is hard to determine until the charts tell us that it is done going down. Now take a look at the daily. Now for an IPO, let's take a look at the daily to see whether the daily gave us an earlier entry point, and yes it does. And we can see that there was a price breakout here just above $7-8. So about right there was a nice price breakout. Now that period, which is here, corresponds very nicely with our requirement for IPO breakouts. There was a move to all-time highs in terms of the daily RSI. We see that the MACDs also were moving to all-time highs. Both MACDs in fact were already moving to all-time highs, and in fact the main MACD was moving above zero for the first time ever. So we see that gave the stock a reason to move, and of course from $5 it would go on to trade as high as 42 and change. Now something I notice here on the MACD is if we just take a look at this period here where the stock would come back and test the zero line for the main MACD, which held, which corresponds with the lows there, and again it held the zero line here with uniform action on both instances, uniform action, which corresponds to the lows right there. So the lows of May and the lows of June was successful based on MACD holding the zero line with uniform action, and we can see that that corresponds with these two periods here, and again both of them was successful in moving the stock higher after holding that MACD zero line. Let's take a look at the current daily chart, and we can see that there was a break of the RSI trend line. We can draw it somewhere there. This break brought the stock off the highs there, and so we know that if we draw a line from this break point right there, which was decisive, in other words, we are using the stock's own behavior to determine what it's trying to do, and we can just draw a line from there. You see, every time we have uniform activity above the line and back below it, we tend to have a short-term high, and that is exactly what we are getting. So right now the stock is on a pullback mode based on the fact that the RSI came and hit that line and is stalling. Now there's also another line connecting RSI highs like that. So connecting the high here through this high, because it is uniform action above the line and back below it, connecting to that high, and then this double top, and recently where the daily chart stalled. So we are seeing this pullback, and the level of a pullback that we might get is just based on the hourly chart finding support at some point. Right now we are looking at what has been and was supposed to be support, looks to be breaking down. So it's very early on, but depending on whether this line can hold here or not, the more it breaks this line, the more one can expect a deeper correction. At some point there should be support based on the long-term hourly RSI, and here the RSI is set at 26 on this hourly chart, and it goes back to the ideal entry point. So if you're looking for a place where the stock could find support at some point, it is this entry. That entry was successful in taking the stock off the lows of February, and so we draw a line from there. Every time we have uniform activity on this level here, the stock tends to bounce. So let's test that. You can see that we touch this line here with uniform action for the lows there, double bottom support here for the lows there. Here we have support for the lows there, support here for the lows here, and also here we got support. All of them led to a little bit bounces. Eventually, if I would explain this a little bit further, is we see an improvement in RSI action as the prices were probing lower levels, and that positive divergence was good enough to recently give the stock the reason from a technical standpoint to move higher. So we can see here that this line, the same line that was the positive divergence line, is being broken, and that is a problem in the current market. That's why I'm saying this might open the idea of lower prices until the stock can come and test this green line here. If it can bounce with uniform activity on the green line, then that's going to be the next logical support area. Eric Muathe with Muathe.com. As always, good luck, peace, and blessings. E-A-C-S.